careful not to mislead them with a false sense of accomplishment. She found their workmanship satisfactory. They had woven a prayer rug filled with scatter motifs, stylized representations of familiar objects: a deer, flowers, sheep, water, the concerns of daily life in the village. It was not a difficult pattern, a modern prayer rug of no great beauty or merit. The center, or field, consisted of a plain red mihrab, or prayer niche, surrounded by a green border of angular flowers. The motifs, like all motifs in Turkish rugs, were based on geometric units. Called nukush, embroidery, the motifs had functioned as a language among the women of the weaving communities. Passed from mother to daughter, the geometric symbols were the basis of communication among the Anatolian women kept illiterate under Islam. Birds for the soul, stars for eternity and marriage, eyes, hooks, and amulets to protect against evil, roses for happiness, running water for a long life, swastikas and dragons to protect the tree of life, apple blossoms for fertility, pinwheels, symbols of heaven, fortune, and hands for protection. To weave was to write, and to write was to be understood. Using any one symbol or a combination of several, a Muslim woman was safe to express herself, channeling her creativity into a body that would survive her long after the Prophet had stripped her of her tribal solidarity. The sum of symbols, too, ensured the Turkish woman with the only possession she could own. In possessing the rugs, women owned a part of themselves that no fundamental law could ever compromise. Like any good grammar instructor, Nurdane looked for errors in the compositions she read, her unflinching eye slashing mistakes. She had reminded her students that the choice of symbols was not the point of weaving, despite how poignant or obscure the themes they conveyed. She wondered if the two sisters had ever listened. The goal of every weaver, she reminded them, was to tie knots so strong they could hold the dead. She picked up a beater, a wooden comb from the floor, and handed it to the youngest sister. "Tighter," she instructed. "Tighter?" The girl panicked and dropped the comb. Her sister snatched it from the floor. "I know how to make them tighter," she said. Nurdane dropped her hand on the older girl's shoulder. She spoke calmly. "I know, so let her try." The older girl sighed and reluctantly passed the wooden comb to her sister's trembling hands. She was younger than the rest and bony, wearing her elbows like weapons on bent arms. Her nails were dirty and her hair fell out of her headscarf in multiple braids, like a bride's. She looked vulnerable beside the others, anxious, too, and yet she had about her a determination that Nurdane recognized as her own. She could see the pride in the arch of the young weaver's back while the others sat slumped and defeated at the loom. The girl looked up at Nurdane with expectant eyes. "What do you want me to do?" "Pack it harder." The girl inserted the long fork-like slats of the beater between the weft and pulled down on the pile. Her tiny muscles bulged from her forearm. Again. "But it's already tight." Nurdane shook her head and poked her finger through the weft again, the hole smaller but still there. "Is it?" The girl lowered her gaze to the floor and shook her head, ashamed. She spoke quietly, humbled. "It's hard." "I know, it takes time." The girl shifted her eyes to balls of wool scattered about the floor. "You were better than any of us at our age. I had a lot of time to learn. You must be patient." The girl swallowed, her eyes glazed like large round tiles in the light. "You were better than our mothers, better than our grandmothers," she insisted. "How did you ever learn to tie them so well?" Nurdane stepped behind the loom and stood in front of the window, a silhouette in the backlight. "Put your hand over your heart, all of you." Nurdane panned the room from one loom to the next until all the girls had followed her instruction. "Now, close your eyes." The girls shifted, the wooden benches creaking beneath their weight. "And listen." The room fell silent.